So electric potential energy is lesson 3. So recall, you should have had a chart completed that has current. So we're going to quickly review. We have current that's measured with a symbol of I, measured with a unit of A. Okay, there's two more variable. I don't know if you remember. And it would be, remember, charge, symbol is Q, unit is coulombs. And then there's time, the symbol is delta T, and then there is now seconds. It's a good idea to have this just because this unit has many units that is quite new to you. Now go back to this other equation now. This is the new equation is V equals E over Q. Drawing your magic triangle. Okay? If I know V is E at the top, Q at the bottom. So remember we talked about that. The one at the top means we put it at the top. So that means E has to be at the top, Q here, and the V would be here. So that means this equation, you can have 3 possible ways to be doing the rearranging the equation. So the first one is this one, right? V is E over Q. We can also be asking for E. So remember how yesterday we talked about if I cover up the one that I want, I'm just going to make a shape. We're going to fill it with color, yesterday green. Okay? And if E is what I'm looking for, I'm going to cover up the E. And then I now see V is beside Q, meaning V is multiplying with the Q. When they're beside each other, we multiply. Okay, so we've gotten that solving for V, solving for E, and the last possible equation is they could ask you to solve for Q. And to do solving for Q, we're going to take our shape and we're going to cover up Q. Do you see how E is at the top, V is at the bottom? So E is at the top and V is at the bottom. So this is the 3 different versions of the same equation. And what are each of them? Okay, voltage is V. I need you to add this. They have it here. Sometimes voltage can also be called potential difference. So that's the big words that it could also means. We're going to add it all to the chart later on. Okay, I'm also going to remove this magic triangle. Okay, and voltage is measured in volt. The unit is volt, also capital V. And basically it's talking about the difference in potential energy. And it's measured between 2 points. And that's why in a parallel circuit, when we want to find voltage, we put them across 2 things because there's 2 points that we would like to do. Okay, E is energy. Symbol is E. Measure in joules. Charge, you know that already. That was from yesterday. Voltage or potential difference is V and is volt. So if I were you, I would start my equation sheet. I would write out energy is in E and is measured in joules. So every time if I see something like 20J, I know that they gave me E. So having this chart here is so important. So I know what is what. Q is charge. We already know that. And the other new one is voltage. Okay, capital V for the symbol. Also unit is also V. And there could be another name. It could also be called potential difference. Okay. All right. So here's just showing kind of an analogy, trying to show you how a battery is almost like this pump. Okay, so they're basically trying to mimic this with this in the water system. In a water system, in order for you to get the water to flow, do you see how you have to bring it up to a higher gravitational potential energy? So giving it a lift up, and then the water can then flow and turn whatever the load or turn the wheels and to drop down to a lower energy. Same thing with battery. What battery does is they're talking about electrons. And the electron flow is once it's going through the battery at the negative terminal, you now have electrons with very high energy. Okay? So they're hyperelectrons. Okay? The hyperelectrons keep coming. They're still hyper. And when it comes over to here, the hyperelectron can actually do the work. Say, for example, if the load is a motor, and when it comes down here, now your electron is no longer hyper. It has lower energy now, lower electrical energy. Okay, and it keeps coming, and by the time it gets back to the battery, it gets excited again and is able to perform whatever job you wanted it to do. And that's what voltage is. Okay, we already talked about that. We're going to stress the point again. Electrons would leave the negative terminal. That's why when I draw the picture, I would leave from the negative. Okay, and they have high electrical energy, so that's my hyper electrons, electrons that are very hyper. Okay, and then it is now used to operate the motor. Okay, after the motor, it is now at a low electrical potential energy, and when it goes back to the positive terminal, it will have less, and eventually going back into the battery, it get re-energized again and do the work. So how to measure potential difference? Okay, we use a voltmeter. We already talked about a voltmeter is a circle with a V, and they always must be connected in parallel. And so that's why with the light bulb, this is a simple series circuit, but when they say, please measure the voltage across the light bulb, they would create 2 points and create an extra branch going around the light bulb. Okay, so in the battery, 45 joules of chemical energy is converted into electrical energy. The energy places 15 coulombs of charge on the negative terminal. Calculate potential difference. Recognizing the unit and recognizing the name would be helpful. 45 joules. So 45 joules of energy. So E is 45 joules. Even if the question doesn't say chemical energy and all those stuff, when you see the unit of joules, 45 joules, you're going to come back to this chart that you made. I look at what is measured in joules. I take a look at the symbol. It is capital E, energy. I write energy equals 45 joules. Okay, now it has 15 C, 15 coulombs. What's the symbol? What do you put in front of here? If you're not sure, go check it, right? If you can remember that it's Q, that's great. But if you don't, go back to this chart, right? Especially at the beginning when you're learning. C, the symbol is Q, okay? Like it's okay to go back and check. And then they're asking you what is the potential difference. Okay, so go back to the chart. Potential difference is V. So they're looking for the symbol of capital V. So V equals to question mark. So then I look at the equation that I have. I'm looking for V. I'm going to go back to the first page. V is E divided by Q. So V is E divided by Q. If I have taught you nothing this semester, at least know your unit and know that you can go back to the chart and check, right? So have your resources in front of you is very important. Okay, so E, I'm gonna put E at the top, and we said that E is 45 joules. Okay, divided by Q. Q is 15 coulombs. So 45 divided by 15, that is 3. And the unit for voltage, if you're not sure, where do you check it? Come on, guys. If you don't know, where do you check it? Yes, the chart you were writing. The symbol with the unit is V as well. 3V. 3-mark question, right? So make sure you have your unit. You would lose half a mark if you're missing unit. And it's always good to have the chart in front of you. And it will eventually get to the point that you know it by heart. You know Q is measured in C. You know I is measured in amps, so on and so forth.